Good evening, everyone. It's April 4th, 2022, and this is a regular meeting of Moscow City Council. And
Thank you for coming to tonight's Moscow City Council meeting. If you all would please join and stand us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thanks, Ann. Before we get going on the regular agenda, we have a proclamation tonight to be read out, and it's a fair housing proclamation. Whereas April 2022 marks the 54th anniversary of the passage of Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, commonly known as the Federal Fair Housing Act, and whereas discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, gender, and national origin in the sale, rental, leasing, or financing of housing or land to be used for the construction of housing or in the provision of brokerage services is prohibited by Title VIII of the 1968 Civil Rights Act, the Federal Fair Housing Act, and the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 expands coverage to include disabled persons and families with children. And whereas the Idaho Human Rights Commission Act has prohibited discrimination in housing since 1969, and whereas the city has determined that discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation and/or gender identity or expression shall be prohibited pursuant to Moscow City Code Title 10, Chapter 19, in order to help ensure that all persons are afforded equal opportunities in housing. And whereas equal opportunity for all, regardless of race, color, religion, sex, disability, familial status, national origin, or sexual orientation and/or gender identity or expression is a fundamental goal of our city. And whereas equal access to housing is an important component of this goal, as fundamental is the right to equal education and employment. And whereas housing is a critical component of family and community health and stability, and whereas housing choice impacts our children's access to education, our ability to seek and retain employment options, the cultural benefits we enjoy, the extent of our exposure to crime and drugs, and the quality of health care we receive in emergencies. And whereas the laws of this nation and our state seek to ensure such equality of choice for all transactions involving housing, and whereas ongoing education, outreach, and monitoring are key to raising awareness of fair housing principles, practices, rights, and responsibilities. And whereas the mission of the city's Fair and Affordable Housing Commission includes researching, analyzing, and recommending to the mayor and council ways in which the city may further fair housing practices. And whereas among the duties of the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission are the review of the city code analysis and impediments to fair housing and action plan each year, and to recommend changes that they may deem necessary. And whereas only through continued cooperation, commitment, and support of all Idahoans can barriers to fair housing be removed. Now, therefore, I, Art Butke, Mayor of the City of Moscow, do hereby proclaim April 2022 to be Fair Housing Month in the City of Moscow, and I urge all citizens to support programs and policies that prevent or eliminate discriminatory housing practices. That's 13 whereases, by the way.
It was a lot.
It is. That's a long one.
Can I just ask you to speak up a little louder? There's people who had their hand up to their ear when you were talking.
Corey, could you turn up the mic just a little bit, please, for the room? That should do that. Okay, next up is the consent agenda, and this consists of items that have been previously reviewed by the two committees, the Public Works and Finance Committee and the Administrative Committee, and are generally associated with housekeeping issues and not controversial. So at this point, we'll do the consent agenda.
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Sorry, Gina.
It's all right. I was just being polite.
Okay.
Wait.
No discussion? Julia,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Gina,
Hi.
Maureen.
Aye.
And Sandra.
Hi.
Very good. On we go. Okay, on to the regular agenda. Mayor's appointments. I have none this evening. Next up is public comment and the mayor's response period. For the next 15 minutes, we afford time to the public to come up to the podium, state your name, address, and city of residence, and tell us what's on your mind, as long as it's not before us on tonight's agenda, nor pending before Planning and Zoning Commission or the Board of Adjustment. So anybody have anything, please don't wait for somebody else. Just come on up to the podium. Okay.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Landis, and I live at 1748 South Blaine Street. And I just have a request for you this evening. It's based on a few observations that I've had recently, well, over the past few months. In September, the end of September 2021, the city hosted a climate workshop. And then in March, we had a month-long public comment period on the climate action plan that had been presented in the interim period. And then one evening in that March period, there was an online forum where we could type in a question to the chat box. And in my opinion, none of these three, the workshop, the comment period, or the online forum, provided appropriate public and citizen input for you to hear. And so my request is that you would consider having a public hearing on the topic. Now, I know that having a public hearing can be a little bit untoward, because you'll probably receive accusations about things that you didn't even do. And so I've seen that happen before, and it's just a tad uncomfortable. But I think that even though those fringe items can come up, I think one time it was the night that you passed the annual budget, and someone accused you of giving yourselves a raise that year. So I realize this sort of thing happens, but I do know that even though it can be untoward, I think it's worth that public interaction that I was thinking would take place at each of these events. And it did in writing, and it did in a little chat box for one question, but it didn't really for an opportunity to have that interchange. So that's my request for you to consider.
Yeah, we do have a workshop on that coming up on April 25th. And at that workshop, I intend to take some public testimony or contributions at that point to provide us some feedback here in person before we move on to the finished product, as it were. So a workshop is coming up. Public hearing is a little more formal, and probably is more formal and less needed than what we have before us with the climate action plan. So come back again on April 25th to the workshop, and we can explore things a little further.
Maybe fourth time will be a charm for public input.
Well, we hope so.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Elizabeth. Who else? Okay, the microphone is not being rushed. So next up is the Citizens Commission report for the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, Amy Henrik and Randy Bocal. And very convenient, having just read the proclamation for fair housing, and lo and behold, here they are.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm here to introduce Randy Bocal. I'm sure many of you are familiar with him. He's been a longtime resident of the city of Moscow and a part of the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission since 2014. In 2015, he took the position of chair and has been reelected to that position ever since. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Randy Bocal.
Well, thank
Welcome,
you,
Randy.
Appreciate it very much. Mr. Mayor, Councilwomen, thank you for having us here on being the Fair Housing Month. That's very fabulous. Yes, Amy had mentioned that I have been with this commission for a few years, and it's been a real blossoming conversation that we've been having. So to some degree, I'm going to just be regurgitating the 13 whereases that were just proclaimed. But let's see what we have here. So we were formed, 20 years ago, really, to keep tabs on the city and find out what's really going on in the town and report back to the council and see what areas of discrimination or unfairness or unaffordability there might be in any different kinds of ways that might be remedied. So that's a part of the major part of everything that we do here. We bring then, like I said, suggestions back to City Council about ways that we might be able to improve living conditions and affordability. I guess we're going to sidetrack just a little bit. Affordability has gotten to be such a huge, tremendous conversation piece this last couple of years. It's overwhelmed the fairness in the discriminatory practices. We really don't have any legal discriminatory things going on within the city of Moscow that we've heard of. We haven't heard of any legal actions or anything. We do hear a number of situations where there's complaints about not getting the cleaning deposit back and that kind of thing. But everything seems to be going pretty smoothly from both the landlord side and the tenant side. So that's what I'm going to say about that little bullet right there. Our duties then is to, on an annual basis, go back and review the analysis to impediments of fair and affordable housing. A few years ago, we had developed an action plan, and we regularly review that and make sure that all of I think there were 6 steps that we had identified at that time. So we do that on a regular basis. And then the promote affordable housing and make recommendations to promote affordable housing practices. That is largely done, I think, in support of the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust. There's a huge emphasis to back them and promote everything that they take care of. And here again, we come back and make more recommendations and make any necessary changes to the practices that the city embraces for fair and affordable housing. Any provisions that the federal or state governments might make as far as funding resources are available, or new actions or variances or activities that they take, then we try to be on top of those and bring those to the attention of the city. Our commission has 9 chairs. I've been the chair for a while. Joellen Force, who's in attendance with us, is the vice chair. Casey Holcomb Hawks is also here tonight. She's been on this commission for many years. Linda Pike, Bruce Pittman, Olivia Civila. We do then also have 3 vacancies disappointed. We seem to fill up and then we lose a couple of chairs. We fill up and lose a couple more chairs, but we're looking for a couple new members. So our outreach and education practices, every year, April turns out to be the Fair Housing Month. That's one of the educational pieces and awareness pieces that are brought out. We have, a couple of years ago, we helped draft the resolution that the city of Moscow is an affordable housing city. All of the facets and characteristics of fair and affordable housing is embraced within a resolution that the city adopted. We have an annual fair housing. The last couple of years, it's been via Zoom. It used to be live and in person, but the Idaho Fair Housing Council is always invited to come here. They are the presenters, and they do a fabulous job of bringing educational materials to the landlords Bankers and realtors are also invited to that. But last 35 attendees on Zoom at that program. That'll be held again this year. We're not sure if they're going to do it live or it'll be Zoom certainly does cut costs. We attend a farmers market table every summer, and the wellness fair. We just had the wellness fair last month. Some great conversations ensued out of that. There's a good number of people that attend the wellness fair. A few years ago, then also we prepared some educational materials. There's the Tenants' Rights and Responsibilities, and it's a nice trifold brochure that kind of lays out what the tenants' rights are, but they've also got responsibilities that go along with that. So just a great little educational tool that we hand out. We have a lot of materials on the city's website. And then at the lower end of that, you can see also prepared a brochure that identifies the landlord's rights and responsibilities. These leases are two-way streets. It takes two sides of the parties to engage into those. So bringing the rights and responsibilities to the awareness level on both sides, I think, is very important and crucial. Then we've also partnered with ASUI and the U of I Legal Aid Clinic, and there's a lot of resources that they have available for us. We are presently kind of in the midst of doing our next citywide survey. This is something that we've done each decade for the last couple decades, kind of gets a feel for where things are in the city, what levels of fairness there is, if there's any discrimination going on, also what the people's feelings are about their perspectives of all of this. So the survey has just gone out. We're looking for the results of that here in the next couple of months. We support the work of the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust, and we support the creation of the Affordable Housing Grant Program. And upcoming, just continue working on the assessment of the fair and affordable housing analysis to impediments. We'll continue to do the fair housing training event. We will continue at the wellness table at the fairgrounds and the farmers market. And that's a brief overview. Any questions?
Nope.
No.
Thank you. I just wanted to say, if you get one of those surveys, please return it, because we didn't send out a lot of them. So everyone is really going to count.
Haley.
That was going to be my question was, is it a random sampling, and how many surveys did we send out, and have we done this survey before?
Well, we did it. We sent it out initially 10 years ago. We're doing it entirely differently this time. Last time, 10 years ago, we contracted through the University of Idaho, and it cost a bunch of money. I don't remember the numbers that were mailed out. We got some back. It was kind of a disappointing response, but it did give us enough information to just get the gist of it, to get the feeling and some of the comments.
Yeah.
We did not get to send out as many this time, even though we're doing it ourselves. It isn't costing near as much as it did last time. We're hoping to get a great enough response so that we can get a good feel for what's going on.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you ever, I don't know if this messes up the whole survey process and the legitimacy of the survey, but I wonder if you do things like have people at Sojourners or people who are part of Family Promise or those out, do they ever get the surveys? So that may give you a whole different perspective of people that wouldn't have an address that you could respond to.
Yes and no, Maureen. There has been a lot of discussion and conversation about the targets that we're going after. It ended up being just a random sampling. It may very well end up going to somebody that came through Family Promise or somebody who's been at Sojourners. But we did not go to those locations and target those people.
Okay,
We just blanketed out there in the community.
thank you.
Okay?
Okay, thanks, Randy.
Okay, thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
And put in a plug, you can download an application off the city's website to be a participant and work with the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, or for that matter, any of the other commissions that have vacancies. So please pull it down. If you're interested, fill it out, submit it, and we'll try to fit you into the commission of interest. Tonight, with 3 vacancies, it's the Fair and Affordable Housing Commission. So please apply. Okay, next is the Moscow Volunteer Fire Department Annual Report. Chief Brian Nickerson.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good day.
See if I can find it here. I'm technology challenged, so bear with me. All right.
Bravo, you did it.
What's that?
Bravo, you did it.
Well, I don't know. I've watched a lot of people do it. I'm just glad he went first. So good evening. This is our annual update on the fire department and so forth. So as you might know, it's a busy year. So 2021 was a record year for the fire department, for the volunteers, career staff, everybody. 75% of the calls overall was EMS calls or vehicle accidents. They kind of blend together, so that's why those are in one of the same. We have a lot less vehicle accidents, so most of those are just strictly EMS calls. The others kind of stayed a little bit trending, as you will, over the last 7 years. However, as I was just talking to Bill before we started, the fire alarms are up over 160. We'll go over that here in just a minute. So from the previous year. An example of those hazardous conditions, for example, when you see that, it considers gas leaks, power lines, some hazmat type incidences, and so forth. Service calls are water problems, smoke removal or assisted police, unauthorized burning. We get a few of those calls, especially when we're open burning right now, which is one of the first times we've done it in the spring. I feel that people want to hold on to it and maybe hold on until fall. I'd rather burn twice during the year, get it done before summer, and then do it again in the fall. So, we've had a couple of those in the last 2 weeks since we started. So, good intent calls is something, for example, if we get dispatched to a call and they absolutely don't need us or anything, they'll call us back and say, well, you don't need to come. So, we just get to get out of bed at 2:00 so we can go back to bed. So it does happen. So, and then any citizen complaint we get is a special incident, which we don't get very many of those at all. So, which I'm glad for. A breakdown of the incidents though from last year. We had 76 fires. Keep in mind that these incidents do include calls outside the city. So they do include the Moscow Rural Fire District, which on average, it's about 160 calls total. That's fire and EMS calls outside the city. So that's included in here. And that's one of the things we're going to work on in the future here is I want to get our data down to just the city for the city folks. So, and plus we're having to buy a whole new program in the next year anyway. So, so it's going to be a good time to kind of sift some of that out. You'll see down there at the bottom, 1,175 calls overlapping, 41% of the time, which is up from 35% of the time, is overlapping. So we got 2 calls going on at the exact same time. So we had, just for example, just a while ago, we had an EMS call, and then we had a hazmat call at the university within 5 minutes of each other, on top of each other. So that 41% of the time, that takes resources to cover multiple calls, multiple times, multiple places. So, but 2,822 calls for the year is a record by about 396 calls. So,
Chief, I've got a question if that's
Yes.
okay. I wanted to
Sure.
clarify on the overlapping.
I don't know
if
how to
it's
go
okay,
backwards.
Mr.
I have
Mayor.
no idea.
So overlapping isn't when me and my neighbor both call in the same fire. It's when
No.
you are getting pulled in 2 different
Right.
directions.
So
at
if we
once.
have an ambulance at a call,
Yeah.
now we have another medical call at a different location,
Right.
at the same time during that time period. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So,
Got it.
okay.
Thanks.
Good question. False alarms. We had 169 more last year than we did the previous year. I can't tell you why. I don't know. I wish I could. It's not the university. It's not specific businesses in town. It's a random overall. It happens. I know years ago they implemented a ticket program, if you will, for false alarms if it's numerous at the same time. Bill did mention to me that 15 of those are probably from the police station. So just saying, we did have some challenges. So, but we do have it all worked out. We haven't ran any of those since January. So, which I'm very, very proud. Of course, I have to let the police chief know that. So, but it keeps us busy. And we don't write tickets. I'm not a believer in them. I'm a believer in education. Now, we have some opportunities that we could, but I think overall education is more important than a ticket because it's a misdemeanor and there's no sense in doing it to some fraternity or sorority president that has no clue of what or why of what's going on. So educating them is the most important to me. Fire investigations, those that's been here know that back in 2018 we had 3 fires and three mobile homes in a very, very, very short amount of time that were suspicious and believed to be arson. We haven't closed that yet, but we're still looking at things and hearing things and investigating things as we can, but it's still open. I think it's going to remain open for a while, but we're going to keep working on it when we can. And when we hear something, we'll follow through with that information. So, and again, the PD, we work so well with them. It's an awesome relationship that we have, and with our detectives and the patrol guys and their command staff as well. So it's a wonderful, wonderful place. You'll see the calls by month. This here shows the last 3 years. You'll see where our highest trends are. It's starting in about June. Then it basically goes out until December and starts to dip down from there. So this is not uncommon. You can see the other months, the last 2019, 2020, they stayed the same to where July was the busiest, which we've been on more wildland fires, even the city folks and the rural folks. We went through quite a few of them this last year. So that's why July was a little bit busier, and also September. Busiest days of the week, the last 2 years. Friday is the busiest. Between Thursday, Friday, Saturday is our 3 busiest days. There is no really rhyme or reason for it, but it is coming to the weekend. So
I have a question.
yes,
Can you go back a slide, please?
I'll try.
So there you go.
Yeah. Button.
You were talking about a busier month and speaking about wildland fires. Is that part of the reason that the calls are as up as they are in the overlapping
Some of
nature of the
them,
beast?
some of them, but not all of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Time of the day. This one gets a little busy even with two years on it. But the times of the day typically are around 10 a.m. Up and through till about 8 p.m. is usually our busiest times. Again, some of it's explainable, some of it's not. Some more vehicle accidents during the afternoons. Don't have many in the mornings. So I think it's the sun during the day, I guess, maybe, I don't know. Our 7-year call volume history. This is the first time I put this one in here. Just to show you the trend from 2015. We started this program when I arrived here in 2015. I came in 14, but 15 we started the new program. This is our current. This is data is about as clean as you can get for data and information over the last 7 years. So we averaged between 2,400 calls every year up until last year. The anomaly is, if you will. However, I will speak to that because we are 19% higher than that number so far this year as of today.
Wow.
As of the math. So we're already above last year at this time.
Is there some way to predict? I mean, is there certain areas that you can say we get most of our calls from this area versus that area, or some kind of pin it down? Or
As far as the community location, if you will, or?
No, more about just the numbers just keep going up.
Oh, it's EMS calls, it's fire alarms, it's,
Okay.
you know, and the information in regards to the time of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and then also the days of the week and the months, it can give you the information for staffing purposes, but we have all volunteers anyway.
Right.
And then our residents come in, obviously, nights and weekends during the school year. So really all of that's static because school runs from basically August through May, right? So they're only here from this amount of time, and they're not here for Thanksgiving, they're not here for winter break, and they're not here for spring break. So those 3 breaks right there, and then include summer, gives us our off time when the residents aren't here. Now incorporate the regular volunteers in that during those times and during the day, during the week. It's all relative when you got all volunteers. It's kind of hard to say that we're going to have, we do for events and stuff, we do try to make notifications to people to say, hey, we might need some extra help because of this. You know, the homecoming parade, for example, because it's a big event. It's a large event. So there's no really, as much as I would like to say we can do that, there's nothing to put a real pin on it. So, and this here gives you the differences. You can see the rescue EMS calls on the top. 2022 is 2,126 last year. And then in 21, I'm sorry, this should be backwards. It should be 21 and 20. So I'm thinking already this year. This is next year's report already. I'm just going to get ahead.
Already?
So it should be 21 on top and 20 on the bottom, and then 1,694 calls the previous year. So EMS calls is the one that really stands out as the trend, if you will, and then there's the fire alarms on top of that. So those 2 incidents really rounded out most of the increase between the years. Inspections, we have a fire inspector. Did 220 inspections last year. 136 had corrective notice. Basically, all that is like, hey, you have your exit lights are out, or your egress lights aren't working, or got blocked exit or whatever. So we issue obvious a correction, says, hey, you need to fix that. 29 passed without comments. So that means basically they didn't have any types of comments, and then 54 passed with some minor comment. So type of inspections, we do assemblies, mercantiles. We do all of the alcohol inspections. As far as fire and life safety goes, we inspect fraternities and sororities twice a year, and then business offices when we can. Priority, though, is the alcohol license, fraternities and sororities is the 2 main things we make sure we focus on mostly. Events we did, we had limited events last year. Obviously the COVID stuff, in case you haven't heard, there was COVID here the last couple of years. But we did still have events. We still had things to do. We tried our best to participate. We did standbys, career fairs, fire prevention, the most we could. The interesting part about fire prevention, we did a couple of videos for the school, for some of the elementary schools. So it was rather entertaining for a couple of folks to do that. Public relations outreach, education online as much as we could. And we still escorted the teams that went to state. This year, the one wrestler was the very first one in 8 years that won state that got the escort back from the city limits to the high school. So that was but it was well worth it. So we're working on, we have the new engine 20, which is, we have all the specifications done. We're just hopefully going to order it here this month. We're working on recruitment, retention of community volunteers and resident program, which is a high priority. We've offered a community member only fire academy for the summer. I don't know if anybody's seen it out and about, but it's for community people only. We're not going to accept any students. It's to try to engage community members to be volunteers here, so we can extend obviously some opportunities during those off times when the residents aren't here. So if you got any questions, contact the office. We'll be glad to share. And it's been on Facebook and all that. So one of the big things we're working on for the volunteers is incentive points and participation stipends. That's a big thing these days anyway around the country. And it's a challenge. What engages a person to be a volunteer? Some's a t-shirt, some's a pair of boots, some's more time. I mean, what is it? Everybody is so different. So, so I got a proposal to the board that for points and stipends for paramedics, volunteers, EMTs, firefighters, all that, residents included. We have some paramedic coverage challenges that we're working on, as well as firefighter, EMT, and residents. When the residents aren't here, you know, try to engage some of those on a higher level as well. So try to up the participation on some levels. So hopefully that'll work. This is an interesting, might be hard to see. The bottom right, basically for 2021, that basically gives the statistics for our staffing throughout since 2011 for volunteers. And the bottom right, we started breaking it down into paramedic only, resident firefighter paramedic, or regular paramedic, or all that stuff. So we've averaged between 100 and 115, 120 every year. We've had an anomaly of 133 in 2019.
Excuse me.
We had a push for EMS at that time, so it was so. Those that don't know, we're going to be rated for our insurance rating next Tuesday. He'll be here. Right now, we're currently a 3. However, during this whole process over the last, I don't know, 6 months, I've learned that they've changed their rating system since the last time we've been rated. So we've been having to do some extra things to try to make sure we're capturing the right things at the right times and so forth. So we'll see where it shakes out. He's been very gracious, the gentleman from ISO, about how proactive we are and how engaged we are with him coming and so forth. So so we'll see where we end up probably when we get the rating. So
Can you remind me, is this the one that's really tied to our response times and things like that? Or is it, this is like runs the gamut?
This is there's a lot of things to this.
Lots of paperwork.
There's
Very cool.
dispatch. There's dispatch stuff, which we have very limited, movement over, if you will. There's the water system here in the city, but there's also the water system on the university. And then there's our department specifically, which incorporates, it does include response times. It includes how many people respond to certain structure fires specifically is really what it's geared towards. It gears towards our apparatus, the equipment we carry, all those type of things. So yeah, it's a big project.
And is hanging out at a class 3 like on par with other cities of our size? And also, are we going to switch to this new system's going to be like 5's the best and one's not? Do we know yet?
It's really a lot of this. The new system is geared towards community risk reduction.
Okay.
Is what it's geared towards. Problem with that is a lot of the things are going to be tied towards getting out of the community more than what we do.
Gotcha.
Other inspections, pre-plans, and all that. So I think we're going to be okay. If we miss it, we're going to barely miss it. But there's things that we can try to do to offset that as well. So I think we're going to be okay. Just from we met with Lewiston about a month ago. They got re-rated, and their number went down, but their rating went down, but their classification did not.
Okay.
So kind of that percentage wise, if you will. But so we'll see. I'm optimistic. We'll see. He's going to be. I think he's going to be impressed anyway. I really do. And this was hard to get. There's not a whole lot of volunteers out there that get this classification. It's hard.
Wow.
There's a lot of work that they did back then, 8 years ago, when they did this to prepare for it. So, so our goal obviously is to maintain that. So, training, we've had EMT classes in the fall and the spring, and fire academy classes. Again, we're training all the time. Actually, we're doing 4 live burns this week, tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday. So we'll be live burning over by the fairgrounds, 4 nights. So we got a lot going on, paramedic class, training, and so forth. So we're all busy. I lied to Bill. I took longer than 5 minutes. Sorry, Bill. Any questions? And you're welcome at any training or any fire department function anytime you want. You want to come live burn? Tomorrow night, I'm going to be there. I will take you in personally.
Tempting.
Cool. Art's gonna bring marshmallows.
No, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Anytime.
Any questions? Thank you, Chief.
You bet.
Appreciate that.
No problem.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Congratulate the volunteers, because they're the ones who are really doing the work.
I don't, you're absolutely right. I do not.
Okay, next up is the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, Small Business and Nonprofit COVID-19 Recovery Grant Program from the ARPA Review Committee. In this case, Cody Riddle and Alyssa Anderson, who are here. Cody, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We're here to present a first round of applications tonight that we've received for assistance with the Small Business Nonprofit Grant Program. Tonight, we actually have 2 requests from nonprofits and then 5 additional requests from small businesses to present to you. I'll provide a brief intro and then present the nonprofits. And then our grants manager, Lisa will present the small businesses and then wrap things up for us tonight. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge actually though all the hard work that Sarah and Renee in finance and then Bill of course did in getting this before you, much before this application process started. It's a new program and there was a lot of back and forth to get these applications ready to go. So with that, I'd like to dive into things. As you'll recall, back in December, you adopted a new resolution, 2021-30, that established the grant program. It was using funding received through the American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA. With that, you allocated up to $750,000 to assist small businesses and then nonprofits negatively impacted by the pandemic. The program, as adopted, as you'll recall, included two categories, the small business and the nonprofits. And then as we discuss things today, I think it's important to remember the eligibility criteria for those 2 categories is quite different. And on that note, our recommendation from a staff perspective today is based on just that, eligibility. From a staff or committee perspective, we really did stick to an objective evaluation of whether or not these applications met the intent or the requirements, more specifically of the resolution you approved. So in just terms of a brief update, before getting into the applications themselves, we do continue to see quite a bit of interest in the program. What we have again today is the first bundle of complete applications that we received. We've learned actually quite a bit getting these ready to go based on the different type of materials we received. We acknowledge that each situation has been quite different and the information received quite different. It's clear through all of it that folks certainly struggled and that each responded in their own unique way to the pandemic. That actually made the evaluation much more challenging than we originally anticipated. It wasn't really a situation where we could always compare apples to apples with these. Today, again, we'll briefly present on 2 nonprofits and the 5 small businesses that have requested assistance. To date, we've received, I believe, 11 small business applications and 13 from nonprofits. Our plan is to bring those back once a month in bundles for you to review. So with that, I would like to touch briefly on the 2 nonprofit applications that we brought before you this evening. And just as a reminder, the nonprofits are limited to 4 categories that were adopted in the resolution. Those categories are services that address homelessness or transitional housing, behavioral health services, nutritional assistance, including things like food banks, food assistant programs, and then educational services. I think what's important also to remember is that the idea was that these organizations are eligible for up to $25,000 in assistance, and it's different than the small businesses in that they don't show net loss in net income. They need to show a new or expanded service that they created in response to the pandemic. And so with that, again, we have 2 applications today. We have the Latah Recovery Center, who, as indicated in your packet, has requested the $200,000 in funding, and then the Moscow Food Bank that has requested the $25,000. As indicated in your packet, we believe that both are certainly eligible for assistance as outlined in the program standards and the resolution. The Food Bank, again, requested $25,000 to renovate an existing building to serve more people suffering or facing food insecurity. And then the Recovery Center has asked for the $200,000 to help establish an Oxford home. And I believe they're here this evening and will share a video with you after staff's presentation. Again, the committee has found that both are eligible based on the language, including in the resolution. I would note that the resolution did include discretionary language, or it was very clear that the small businesses were allowed up to $15,000 unless approved by City Council. That same clause wasn't included in the resolution as it relates to the nonprofits. So our advice this evening, or our recommendation would be, if you agree that the Recovery Center is eligible, that you grant that $25,000 to the Recovery Center today, and then down the road, if funding remains and you so choose, we could consider amending the resolution if there was a desire to grant additional funding. I believe that wraps up my comments as it relates to the nonprofits. As I mentioned, Elise is going to step in and present the applications for the small businesses and then wrap things up for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Alyssa.
Lisa.
Welcome.
So as Cody stated, we received 5 applications for small businesses. And the first one that you have in your packet tonight is for College Cabs LLC. And staff recommended not approving this application because the business isn't actually located, and I'm sorry, this isn't in the order that we have our packet in, so I'm going to just pull them all up and we'll go through the packet. So College Cabs, their address is in Pullman. Their business is mainly, their business office is located there. They do house a few cabs here in Moscow, but it did not meet the eligibility criteria of having a business location within Moscow. And so we did let College Cabs know that they didn't meet the eligibility criteria. I'm not sure if anyone is here from College Cabs tonight to speak to that, but staff's recommendation would be that they're not eligible. Does anyone have questions on that one at all? Okay. Our next application was from Poor Company. And, you know, we looked at this one several different ways. And we had to stick really just to the criteria of the resolution. The business did not open until March of 2020. And so we did not have that pre-pandemic period of time where we could analyze their business operations. And we just had really no choice. It's not to say that they weren't, you know, impacted by the pandemic, but as staff, we had to follow the eligibility criteria. So with that one tonight, we also noted that it is not eligible. And I'm not sure, I think, are the folks from Poor here tonight? Okay, hi. I'd never met you before, so I apologize. So I don't know if you would like them to speak now or, okay.
Might as well, while we're on the topic of Poor
Okay.
Company, if you'd like to say a few words.
I mean, I'm good.
No, we have to get you on record.
Sorry.
We didn't get to meet in person.
Stefan Yahtzee, Poor Company. I believe you all read the letter. It's not eligible, but it's just one of those things I felt I had to do. You advocate for yourself because nobody else is going to. I didn't qualify for PPP or anything else. Because of when I opened, I didn't shut the city down. Council did that. So I fought through it. We're here with the money without, like I'll still be here, but I just thought, I don't know, other people were eligible. Why not me?
So good points, yeah. And I know staff for sure thought about this a lot and did pretty deep dives into what to do. And it was a rather difficult decision that they made. And we'll see what council has to say afterwards.
So, yep. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stefan.
Yes. And I just wanted to note too, actually the the state of Idaho established the stage 1, 2, and 3 criteria that required businesses to close, and then city council followed along with those, being a city within the state. So it actually wasn't the city that had the requirements. So just want to make that clear. Okay, our next application tonight I have in your packet. Excuse me, I tabbed my papers, but I have lots of them. The next one we have for you tonight is Deep Roots Farm. And I believe Greg is here, but I'll go ahead and kind of go through their application. Deep Farms was able to submit their tax returns for 2019, 20, and 21. And we were able to do an analysis based upon consistent information throughout the 3 periods. And within that, we did an updated, and you saw in your packet, an updated March 25th, where we had the applicants come in and sign their worksheet based upon the information they provided. And then we also, as staff, provided the analysis within that, and a bar chart or a graph that shows really how it looks. And so for Deep Roots, they actually did meet the criteria of having a 25% or more reduction in net income. And so they had over the time period, they had a 34% decrease in gross sales from 20 to 21, and 140% decrease in net income for the same period. From 29 to 21, they saw an overall net income decrease of 549%. So with that, and the criteria and the information that they provided, a full application, we recommended approval of this application. And Greg is here tonight. If Greg, would you like to speak, or council would like to ask questions?
Come on up to the podium. We have to catch you on record, and so the people who are watching at home can actually hear what you've got to say.
Hi, my name is Greg Freistadt, owner and operator of Deep Roots Farm. I just appreciate being able to apply for this, and unfortunately, we met the criteria, but hopefully that'll help us. We as well didn't get approved for PPP because of some timing issues and confusion with, I think, a lot of small businesses. So we appreciate that this came, even though it was later, but we found that we struggled more this last year than we did 2020 because of increased demand and ability to hire more people in 2020 than we did this in 2021. So if there are any other questions, happy to answer them. Nothing else you'd add. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next application tonight in your packet is from Megan Baumgartner, and she is here. Awesome. And she owns Healing Point LLC, and she's also requested $15,000. She also provided her tax returns for the 3 periods. And with her analysis, we found that she had a 34% decrease in gross sales between 20 and 21, and then 109% decrease in income for the same period. And over the period of 2019 to 2021, she experienced a $211% decrease. And so Megan provided the full application, and we've met with her, and she also reviewed the updated financial information and signed off on that. So she's here tonight. Megan, would you like to come up?
Good evening. I'm Megan Baumgartner with Healing Point. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate the opportunity as well to apply for this grant. I'm not as much of a numbers person, but the numbers do kind of speak for themselves. I felt that in a different way as I was operating through the first 2 years of the pandemic, and we were all, trying to navigate the best we could. So my business is still open. I'm grateful for that. And this money would be additionally supportive to kind of make up some of that backlog of lost income for sure. So are there any questions in particular or specifically?
Doesn't look like it.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, our next application tonight that we have is Cafe Artista. And I don't see Bev here tonight. Is she
Oh,
here?
Bev
Okay,
and Lisa
some
are
people-
both here, yeah.
Got the masks on back there. Lots of people came in after I sat down. So as you know, Cafe Artista is the coffee shop just a block from City Hall here that we often frequent. And they too provided their 2019, 20, and 21 tax returns. So we were able to do, again, that consistent analysis. They, had a difficult time too, employees, and again, one of those businesses that were impacted by different stages of the closures. They had a 44% decrease in gross sales from 2019 to 2020, and then had a 108 decrease in net income for that same period. They were able to meet the eligibility criteria through that, and we also included again their updated statement worksheet and the graph and information for your review. And Bev, would you like to come up and speak tonight?
Bev Bafus, Cafe Artista. Lisa's also here, but she told me she's allergic to microphones. I appreciate you giving us this opportunity. I know you've all been in, you've all had coffee regularly with us. So you've all seen when we were shut down, when we were serving out of the doorway, when we made the window. I think things are on the up now, but even January and February, which you don't have, were terrible because of the surge of COVID. And so March was better, and April hopefully will be better, but it's, we've kept everyone employed, except I'm employed, but I don't get paid. So I'd like to get paid sometime. Anyway, I appreciate you thinking of us. Thanks.
Any questions? Nope.
And also in your packet, as Cody mentioned earlier, you had the staff memorandum also talking about the nonprofits. And right now at this point, we have a couple of options. If you would like to have the Recovery Center play their video, or would you prefer to move forward?
I would like to be able to vote on the business ones and then subsequently the nonprofit ones.
Okay.
And so I don't know if we're going to vote on all the business ones at one time, but it seems to me that kind of makes sense that that would happen.
I think separating the business from nonprofit is good, and staff would just go down the list. How should we approach this?
You could make your motion however you wish. You want to do individual, or you can do a single motion that approves those that were recommended for approval and denies those that were recommended for denial. It's up to the council how you wish to proceed.
So the way that they're listed in the suggested motions actually has them broken out, businesses first and then nonprofits at the bottom. So we could just move through them in order and then have a discussion at the nonprofit section.
Okay,
So I think separating the business from nonprofit's probably cleanest.
okay.
Didn't say that.
I move that we approve the funding amounts of $15,000 for the Deep Roots Farm, Healing Point, and Cafe Artista, as they each met the eligibility criteria.
Second.
Motion and second. Further discussion, councilors?
Mr. Mayor, I guess I don't know the order of operations for this. I am going to ask to abstain from the motions and discussion for the business portion of the grant program, and I'm happy to share remarks if that's the right time to share some additional color, but I can also share that after.
Yeah. Best to keep that separate.
Great.
Until we get to the nonprofit section.
I will abstain from the business grant portion. Thank you.
More discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to acknowledge that I think all of these businesses are providing valuable services in Moscow, whether you qualified or not. And I am sorry that that poor didn't qualify, but I just want to acknowledge that I know it's been a difficult 2 years, and that whether it is meeting for a cup of coffee or a beer or getting organic vegetables or going in for acupuncture, that they all do pretty amazing businesses. And I'm glad that we can do something to support them, even if it's just to go have a beer at Pour House later. Pour Company.
Yeah, so I suggest also in general that citizens patronize our local businesses and give them the support that they deserve to keep them here, because having a business is hard work with or without support, and certainly made more complex by the advent of COVID. So really, we value our businesses and do what we can, but there are limits, it seems.
Can I just make one more comment on that? Particularly with respect to Pour, I have to tell you, my heart broke when I heard about the glass being broken.
True.
And that was really a hard one. And I'm sorry that we couldn't do anything for you. And I do encourage everyone to support all our small local businesses, but that was a hard one for me,
Yep. Okay.
as it was for you.
Further discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Gina?
Aye.
Ann?
Aye.
Haley, you're not in it. Go to Sandra.
Aye.
Maureen?
Aye.
Julia?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion passes, and with the company's name, Deep Roots Farms, Cafe Artista, Healing Point, receiving $15,000 from the grants.
Do we also
Anything from staff?
have to vote on the ones that were declined?
Correct. Yeah, we'd like to have a motion on the decision on those applications.
You were
as
looking
well.
like you were.
Yes, Your Honor.
Do I hear a motion to deal with the two who were,
I'd like them to be separate, so I'm going to move denial of college cabs based on ineligibility.
Second.
motion and a second, further discussion? Okay, Julia,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Okay, that's college cabs. We have one left.
I'll make a motion to deny the application of Pour Company for the ARPA grant application.
Second.
Further discussion? Okay, Ann,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
Julia,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Okay, that's the business side taken care of. Now we move on to the nonprofit side of things.
Mayor, I would like to make one suggestion if I could. I think Jeff is here. Is Jeff, did I see Jeff and Linda come in? Linda's here? Okay. Before we move forward, I was wondering if the Moscow Food Bank folks could come up and speak before we move forward, and then we can move forward with the Recovery Center. So Linda Nichols and Jeff Hebling are here. As you know, the Moscow Food Bank has been in operation for over 40 years. They operate on the site of the Catholic Church here in town, which is owned by the Diocese of Boise. You know, the church there has allowed the food bank to operate. They've expanded the operation and built additional space for them. And then they also own the house next to the parish. And so being able to kind of spiff up the house, clean it up, do a little bit of a dusting and cleaning out, as Jeff would say. And then it would be ready for Linda to begin to offer larger space for her shelf-stable items, and then maybe some of the other items that those folks that come to the food bank need in households and wares and those types of things. So I'll let them come up and share their plan and answer questions.
You can tell we're really committed because both of us were watching the game tonight and we had to break loose together. Ooh, and it was hard. Anyway, so we're here. I don't know. This kind of came up suddenly. We had been planning to do some renovating on the house to further accommodate the work that we do and to expand some of the services that we can provide. And kind of waiting until we got our new building settled, and because we didn't know where the finances were going to come just yet. Then this opportunity came up and thought, okay, maybe we can kind of start this and get going on it a little bit earlier. So that's kind of where we're at. And so we didn't have a lot of real specifics on the amount. But Jeff was kind enough to give me some kind of a ballpark figure so that we could kind of know where we're starting from. We know it's not going to do the whole complete job, but we think it would be a good start and a big help to us. You have anything to add?
Well, the original estimate was about $1 million. And we're going to start with 25,000.
I think Jeff ought to do it all for 25,000.
I'm going to try.
Yeah, good.
Anyway.
So any questions?
Just a comment, which is that I've dropped off produce there before, so I know exactly how big that space is or not so big. So I think this is great. And thank you both so much for all of your services, especially the last couple of years, reading about the increased deliveries and everything else you did to keep the doors open. So thank you so, so much.
Thank you.
Sandra?
A Herculean effort, to be sure, over there. I walk my dog by there all the time, and I just nod and say thanks and amazed.
Could you please pick up after your dog?
I always pick up after my dog. I leave it in your trash can because you're such a good neighbor.
Leave it in your trash can.
So my question is, and you don't have to elaborate a whole lot, but I'm wondering what kind of changes did you see from folks during COVID? Did you see a huge increase in people coming
Initially
in?
we did, but then a lot of people's money that they got, food stamps and things like that got increased. So as that happened, then we saw kind of stabilize. And then that all ended in last June. So they went back to their normal amount.
Okay.
And so then we started seeing a big increase again. And now with gas prices going up, we always see a huge increase with gas prices go up. We see a lot of new people.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So,
Gina?
Well, I'm thinking I'd like to make a motion. We ready for that? I move that we, I don't know the right words, award.
Oh, it's right here. Want to give it to you? Let me read it to you for you.
Oh.
Right down that thing.
Okay, well, I don't have it up, but I move that we award the Moscow Food Bank the $25,000.
Can I amend her motion just for a second?
Sure.
Okay, that move that we approve the award of $25,000 as requested by the applicant, waiving the requirement of at least one employee and not requiring tax returns as stated in the program requirements.
I mean, they don't call you an employee after all of these years, Linda.
Yeah, that was the one, remember we talked about
I get
that?
that.
That's what it was. I suddenly
So
thought.
does the mover
Awesome.
accept the?
So amended and yes. Thank you,
Second.
Maureen.
And a second from Sandra. Further discussion.
Pretty remarkable.
Okay, Haley,
Aye.
Sandra,
Aye.
Ann,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Maureen,
Aye.
and Julia.
Aye.
Okay, so that part's taken care of. Next up.
Would you like Daryl to come up and speak or play the video first? How would you?
I come up and speak and present the video and we'll go it in that order.
No, I can't see over the glare, so I'll let you do that.
Oh, boy.
Oh, just close mine, I think is all you have to
I think I
do.
can just hit escape on it.
There you
Trusting my technology. It's probably a mistake on your part, Lisa.
Also, don't forget to aim the microphone upwards. You're taller than others.
When you're my height, that's just a given. These things are never tall enough. So I do have about a 13-minute video to show, so my own remarks are going to be very short. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for allowing us to have the time to show that video. What we are attempting to bring to town is a type of safe and sober house called an Oxford house. I showed this same video to my board a few months ago after I had seen it. And I'll tell you what I liked about it is what I like about an Oxford house is, number one, it's an evidence-based program, which is kind of the gold standard for behavioral health type stuff, is evidence-based. And number two, this is a self-funding program. So once we get a house in town, we don't have to continue to backfill it to keep paying. And I won't have to come back to you guys or the county commissioners, anybody to keep funding it. It funds itself. And in fact, it's designed to fund itself such that some of the profits are set aside to build more, place more Oxford homes throughout the community as need is determined. I'll hit hit play on the video in a second. We did talk to the Latah County Commissioners, and I want to let you know that we're about 40% of the way towards the funding that we're trying to get to buy the house that we're looking at. They were able to fund us generously. So we're getting there pretty fast, and we do have a house that we are specifically trying to look at. So we'll see how the timing works out. Maybe that's not the house for us, but we'll see. This video should answer most of your questions. And of course, I'm happy to answer any questions after the video.
Oxford House, time-tested, evidence-based addiction recovery homes.
In my addiction, I was homeless, living on the streets, living in abandoned houses, walking aimlessly in life, using drugs heavily, drinking very heavily, getting arrested several times. I was in and out of jails, treatment centers, trying to get sober, and just going back out there over and over again in a vicious cycle.
Several terms are used to describe recovery homes. The most common include halfway house, three-quarter house, sober living, and group home. Oxford House is unique and is in a category all its own. It differs from traditional sober residential environments in many ways. These unique characteristics can be found in the history of the organization, the structure model upon which all houses are built, and the documented benefits for both the member living in the home and the entire community.
The things that I learned in Oxford House are the most important to me is how do I get out of self, right? Because when I got here, I was a very self-seeking, selfish individual, and I was compelled out of the gate to get involved in the service structure, not only on the house level, but on the chapter level. And so I did that, and in doing that, I learned how to be of service to others.
The first Oxford House opened in 1975 in Silver Spring, Maryland. It was co-founded by Paul Malloy, the current CEO of Oxford House. He and several other men were living in a county-funded, county-ran halfway house in their early recovery. They could not afford staff, so they decided to run the home themselves. They called it Oxford House. In order to protect their own recovery, they know they needed structure. 3 simple rules were established. 1, Oxford houses operate democratically. There are no bosses. 2, Oxford houses are fully self-supporting. The members pay all of the bills themselves. 3, Oxford houses must expel any member who has a substance use recurrence. Alcohol and/or drug use is never tolerated.
While my sister picked me up from prison, I know that my relationship with my family was so damaged that I wouldn't be able to go back there. And I had a lot of work ahead of me to rebuild those relationships, but I needed a place to live and to get right. And Oxford House gave me that.
The men of the first Oxford House soon learned just how important their home was to the community and to the men and women in recovery who were seeking safety, support, and structure.
It finally felt like I had a life worth living because I wasn't alone. And, they've said that the opposite of addiction is connection. And I hadn't known what connection was like until I came into the walls of the Oxford House.
They filled up quickly and stayed full. One house turned into several houses within a few short years. Each time a house filled, another was opened. By the late 1980s and early 1990s, the buzz and excitement around Oxford House began to grow nationwide. Houses started opening at a rapid pace. Behavioral health divisions of federal and state government began to take notice and show support for Oxford House expansion.
I relapsed, and it was not good. I was drinking every day. I was drinking all day. And when my fiance came and picked me up one day, we got home and he said, "I can't do this anymore. It's over." And I looked at him straight in the eye and said, "If you kick me out of here, I've got no place to go. My parents aren't going to take me. I've been drinking. I'm literally going to be under a bridge and I'm going to die drinking."
Thousands of Oxford houses now exist for men, women, women with children, and men with children. Hundreds of new houses continue to open each year. Most houses have a mix of single and double rooms with an average total count of 8 beds. A house manual was written in the early years to give guidance to new houses. Traditions were formed to protect the integrity of the Oxford House name and prevent houses from straying from the basic premise. Chapters were created so that clusters of houses could meet regularly to share their experiences, look into expansion, and address any problems within the homes. True, there is no authority inside each Oxford house. There is no house manager with power or control over the other members. But that does not mean responsibility and accountability are not present. The peer-led structure inside the home works because every member has a voice and a choice. To maintain order, Oxford houses elect officer roles: president, secretary, treasurer, comptroller, and chore coordinator. Once a week, they have a business meeting to discuss the finances, house cleanliness, and supply inventory, and most importantly, the well-being of the home and its members.
You know, and when we got there for the first time, I seen just how the scope of the peer support in Oxford House. You know, there was men and women there talking about other houses and how they could help other houses and that what they were willing to do to help those other houses. And I thought, wow, you know, this is huge, you know, and I think that was the moment I was sold. You know, I wanted in on that.
Meetings are also held to accept new members when beds become vacant. Anyone seeking membership must schedule an interview with the house and receive an 80% acceptance before entering. Once moved in, each member is expected to participate in house meetings and chapter meetings, including the duties of an officer position once elected. They must maintain their recovery and remain abstinent. Because they all share the financial responsibility of rent, utilities, and supplies, each person must pay their portion on time.
I feel like the beauty of Oxford House is that separates it from any other sober living house is that we have thousands of houses nationwide, and that when you pay your equal expense share, it goes to that house. And if you get a fine, that fine goes to the house. It doesn't go to one person. We don't have managers. We don't have people who run the house. It's the people who live in the house who get to make the decisions and who get to decide where that money goes to. If it goes to a new TV or if it goes to a unity event that the house puts on, if you do a pizza night and a movie night, or you go out to dinner, that house can pay for it because that money goes to the house. It doesn't go to anybody else.
Oxford House encourages individuals to start taking responsibility for themselves. Self-confidence grows quickly in Oxford House as life skills are learned through daily living. As each Oxford House develops into a home, a family culture emerges. Chores are assigned each week and basic house guidelines are developed. Members interact frequently and support each other. Members who cannot stay sober, get too far behind in their equal expense share, or become disruptive by breaking house guidelines or acting out in inappropriate behavior are voted out of the house. Otherwise, there is no time limit on living in an Oxford house. Every so often, a house may face challenges it cannot overcome on its own. This is where the external service and support show up. Safety nets exist around every Oxford house to help out if vacancies become too high, checking accounts become too low, or the internal structure becomes too unstable.
My path to Oxford House, well, first and foremost, had to include a lot of trials and tribulations and a phone call. I had to reach out. I had to have enough of what I was doing and ask for help. And lucky for me that an Oxford House member answered the phone for me.
Nearby houses that belong to the same chapter will send their experienced members over to have special meetings and find solutions to most problems. Oxford House, Inc., the 501c3 umbrella organization that charters each Oxford House, can often provide technical assistance to support new or struggling houses. The recovery community knows when experience, strength, and hope are freely shared, great things can be achieved.
Something that I'm very proud of today is that I'm a homeowner. You know, that was an idea that was just absolutely ridiculous to me. I never anticipated in my life that I would ever own a home. You know, and it was through the values of paying bills on time and the principle of being financially secure that I was able to do this, you know, and I learned these things from Oxford House.
Oxford houses across the country are doing that every day. The success of Oxford House is well documented and has been studied for decades. Success in recovery is hard to measure. Recovery can have a different meaning depending on who you ask. Oxford House success, however, can be measured. It has been done several ways over several decades. DePaul University and other independent entities have looked into Oxford House to see how it all works. What they have found is remarkable. Quality of life goes up and costs to the community go down. Oxford Houses give people the time they need to become comfortable in recovery. Members enter Oxford House broken and often alone. They move out with a new lease on life as responsible, productive, and contributing members of the community. Members learn a new way to live. The cycles through treatment facilities and/or incarceration stop.
I love it. I love living in a community where everybody's on the same page. We are all about recovery, changing our lives, seeking a better future for ourselves, personal development. That is the pool that I needed to be in to become successful. I needed to be around like-minded people doing the same things as I am, and seeking purpose in life. And living with people in recovery gave me that purpose.
Recovery can happen quickly in Oxford House because of the insulation of support. Shattered relationships begin to mend, and families begin to heal. Long-term recovery is achieved by over 80% of those who stay at least a year.
I learned so much in Oxford House that I've been able to apply to my life outside of Oxford House in my own, like the scheduling and the getting together and going over bills and paying them, balancing checkbooks. And in my house now with my partner, I've put the bills on a cork board, and we have structure around cleaning. So we do like a weekly deep clean. And then we also talk a lot about like different issues that we might be having in a way that is set up kind of like the new business section of our meetings in Oxford House, where it's like, hey, I have this issue and he can address that. And I don't know, it just helped in our relationship, and it's helped in maintaining a household.
Some who leave successfully become alumni members. They may leave the home, but they stay involved, pay it forward to the next newcomer.
I can't stress it enough that Oxford House gave me a chance when I needed it. And, that's something that I will always want to make sure that everyone has that who wants it.
There is no financial cost to taxpayers for an Oxford House to exist. Each house supports itself. The only cost to the community is tolerance and understanding. Recovery can work for anyone, no matter what their active addiction looked like. Oxford House is proven to increase the chance of success. Hundreds of thousands of people have lived in Oxford House. Most have stayed sober. Oxford House is here to help, and we continue to unlock and open doors to meet the need. Oxford House provides a blueprint for success.
Oxford House has taught me so many different things, and I would not be where I'm at today if it wasn't for Oxford House.
To find an Oxford House with vacancies in your area, visit www.oxfordvacancies.com. Call the house of your choice to set up your interview today. To learn more about the history, structure, and success of Oxford House, please visit our official website, www.oxfordhouse.org.
Thank you again for the time to show that video. I guess if you guys have questions.
I have a couple, if that's okay. So nearest existing Oxford House is in Lewiston, right? Is it?
The only two in Idaho, in fact, are in Lewiston.
And how has it been? Because I feel like I've seen some headlines about some things changing with some Salvation Army things happening in town, but I know that's a different model than the Oxford House.
That's way different than the Oxford House. Yeah, I'm not aware of any problems with Lewiston, and I am aware that Idaho liked what Lewiston was doing, and I believe it's Idaho Department of Health and Welfare's contract with Oxford House to try and start some. I think 6 this year.
Very cool.
In Idaho.
That's awesome. And then my other question was, in the notes in the packet, it had outlined a property manager fee of 8.5%. And then this one also talks about like having everyone like everyone's contributing to the, so
So the 8.5% you saw in the budget is us hiring somebody along the lines of Team Idaho, for instance, to
Okay.
manage the property so that we don't have to dedicate staff time to that.
and they'd be helping facilitate like the lease
Exactly.
lease agreement, sign in, sign out.
Exactly. The idea is basically that Laytar Recovery Center would be serving as a typical landlord,
Okay.
but without the profit motive that one has as a landlord. We'd be able to keep the rents a little bit lower so that there's better affordability for the residents of the home.
Let me check. And I wanted to check, because this is more than, my note to myself was like asking about transitional housing in the community and in the county, but this isn't transitional housing, right? But I was going to ask, there's.
It kind of is.
Well, yeah, but it's, not having a limit on it and things like that. And so I'm thinking in terms of, what's the one on north by?
Sojourners?
Yeah, the one by Moscow Building, the hotel that I want to say the county contracts with.
Well, that's the hotel that recently got, I believe, has been sold. And is no
Yes.
longer
And so without
providing
that,
service.
I guess I'm wanting to make sure that I'm understanding that this is about to fit. Should this receive adequate funding to come to fruition, this is filling a really.
Yes. I think a better way to put it is we would possibly be serving the similar clientele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. That's what I got. Thank you.
Anything? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious how it functions financially. So if the additional funds are then used to expand services, I'm curious kind of what the slice of that is for people who are paying in, and then also on a financial technical level where that money's kept as it's stored and invested later.
Sure. Quite simply, Oxford House itself does not make any money off their Oxford homes. They make it, from what I can tell, off of those national contracts and state contracts that they were talking about. In our case, and they also have as part of their traditions that each home sets aside a certain amount every month, and I'm not sure how much. It's not a large amount though, but a certain amount of the, they had a term for it. I'm just going to say rent, but it was like equal living expense or something like that, gets set aside towards helping out other homes or developing new homes. In our case, since we're a nonprofit, we were expecting we'd be setting aside part of the rent that we're making also to try and develop more Oxford homes locally, because, if we get one going, that's just going to serve one gender. 50% of the population still needs help. I'm not sure if I answered all of your question though. So
So it sounds like then the money is stored. Does Oxford House manage that, or would the Laytar Recovery Center manage
it would depend on which pot of money.
Gotcha.
So if it's the equal expense share, that's Oxford House. And that in fact would be the local client, the local folks in the Oxford House. If it's us with the profits off of any rent that we get, that's Laytar Recovery Center.
Great, thank you. That does.
Absolutely.
Julia.
I was listening to the video. I think they said there's an 80% recovery rate over a year. Is that like a successful recovery rate over a year?
I think they did say that.
Do you know? That seems really high to
It's
me.
extremely high.
Do you have any?
I don't know how they got those numbers.
Okay.
I can tell you that any sort of recovery rate that high is extremely high. I would think that what they're saying is 80% of their folks move out and are still abstinent when they move out.
What would be an average recovery rate for like AA or NA? Do you have any idea?
AA doesn't really broadcast those that I've ever seen. There are some AA folks in here that might be more knowledgeable on that than me, that might chime in. But a good recovery rate for anybody would be about 30%.
Thank you.
Let's be clear though, that's like the first try, and most people don't recover on the first try. And it does go higher the more persistent a person is.
Yeah, I know you have to have it like a cutoff at some point. So I think they said after a year or something like that.
Yeah. A number of my folks on my board and folks I've talked to have been in homes like this, and some have been in Oxford houses, and they emphasized to me the importance of that sober environment when they first come out of a detox facility, for instance, or first decide that they need to be sober, just getting into a new safe environment for themselves. And that's where we like this program.
There are no other questions. Are there any other questions? I'd like to make a motion. Okay. I would like to table the decision on the Recovery Center's application tonight and move to amend Exhibit A, Section 3 in the Community Social services section, and let me explain why I'm doing that.
And what they are.
What they are, I'll explain to you. I got it all right here in front of me. In preparing for today's meeting, I noticed that there was some difference in what the resolution 2021-30 contained and what my recollection is with respect to what we agreed to. And somehow I think it fell through the crack, whether or not it was a Scribner's error or it was something else, or we just didn't catch it. But my sense is that when we talked about it, we approved it in a manner that said it was a maximum of $25,000 unless otherwise approved by City Council. For some reason, that which was supposed to go into the nonprofits got attached to the business section, and it did not get put in the nonprofits. And I think that is an error that I think most of us were surprised when we sat down to read this and realized that there was this cap of $25,000 on this without the exception. And so what I would like to do is propose, or I'd like to make a motion that we table the decision on the Recovery Center's application tonight and move to amend Exhibit A as follows: that the maximum awards shall be limited to $25,000 unless otherwise approved by the city, which is the language I believe we thought we approved, and it was the language that got inserted in the business but not put into here. So I disagree with the recommendation of staff that we approve the $25,000 today and move to do that later. I think I would like to take a vote on tabling it tonight, making a recommendation with respect to amending it consistent with what I think we all voted for back in December in 2021, and then be able to look at that.
Bill.
Just to clarify, the motion is to request staff to prepare an amended resolution for the council's consideration at the next council meeting?
That's
Just
exactly
because
what
we're
it-
not amending the resolution this evening, but you can provide staff with
Yes.
direction to amend it in accordance with
Right.
the language as you recited.
Thank you.
I also did go back and reviewed the PowerPoint presentations from both the Public Works Finance Committee and the City Council, and it was not included in there. So because we were doing a higher award of 25,000, we did not include that unless otherwise approved by the council. So in both presentations, that was how it was presented. But the council certainly is free to amend the program and resolution, and we would recommend you do that prior to making any award in excess of the amount that's in the resolution as currently adopted by the council.
And my recommendation would be, I didn't think we were going to do it. It was really a recommendation so that we were voting on you all doing it, because we do not write resolutions. We propose what the language would be. And I guess the one thing I take issue with, that I would prefer that we do not piecemeal the vote on the recovery center, and that we take that as a package, and we can then have a fuller discussion on why or why not we're approving that request.
Sandra.
Cody, I just wanted to make sure you did say that staff recommends that $25,000 approval tonight, and should there be money left over at the end, we could propose a resolution to award whatever amount deemed appropriate. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Kelly, that's correct. Staff, for the committee's perspective, was that $25,000 would be the maximum allowed by the resolution as it's written today.
To follow up on that, but if we in fact had staff review it, then we could actually vote on the resolution based on what some of us thought it contained.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I have another question for Daryl. So I think anybody who's lived here for very long knows how quickly the real estate market moves. And it's clear in here that this is a time-sensitive proposal. So I know there could be a world where $25,000 tonight is better than $200,000 2 to 4 weeks from now. I'm just curious how that timeline is shaping up and what that looks like from your end.
2 weeks would be a hell of a lot better than 4. I can tell you that. When we first started talking with this landowner 3 months ago, I think it was, they were asking $397,000 for the property. When I spoke with her last week, she's getting back to me with and at that point, she was clear she wanted fair market value. She's holding it off the market, and she's not going to get a bidding war or anything like that, but she felt fair market value, which I 100% agree with. When I spoke with her last week, she didn't give me a number, but she said she'd been speaking to a realtor, darn it. And clearly fair market value had increased. I am not a realtor, but when I look at 4-bedroom, 2-bath houses, which is what the Oxford House requires, I'm seeing that fair market value must be somewhere around $450,000. So in 3 months, it's gone up $50,000. Out.
Your Honor, we have a motion on the floor that has not been seconded.
I'll second it.
Okay. Further discussion from council?
So will you repeat the motion, please?
Yes, the motion is that the maximum award shall be limited to $25,000 unless otherwise approved by city council. That is just inserted language into the.
That's not the motion though, right?
I think the motion
was to table the decision.
No, I think the motion was to send it back to staff to rework the language associated with the nonprofits to incorporate the language that says unless otherwise approved by council. I think that's where we were headed.
Your Honor, I believe the motion was to table consideration of this grant request this evening and to direct staff to prepare an amended resolution that would give the council the authority to grant an award in excess of $25,000 for the council's consideration at the next meeting.
Okay.
Is that right?
Mr. Mayor, I have another question.
Sure.
Sorry, do you want to answer that first?
Oh, that's exactly right. Thank you, Bill.
Yep, go.
Is there anything, this is probably for Bill, is there anything that would not allow us to give 25,000 tonight, amend the resolution, and have them come back for the other?
No, certainly. That's another path, which was what was staff's recommendation, was to award the 25,000. There are 10 additional nonprofit applications still pending before the council. And so you could either do 25,000 tonight and amend the resolution at the next meeting, 25,000 tonight, evaluate how much funding's remaining in 60 days. It's up to the council how you wish to proceed. So there's certainly nothing precluding you from granting the 25,000 tonight. And if you wish to give staff direction to amend the resolution to increase the potential award, then we'll also need to notify the 10 additional nonprofits that submitted applications that is a change that's coming in the program, should they wish to modify their requests as well, because that would have to be open for all of the potential nonprofits that would like to participate in the program.
Right.
Can I make a very quick observation?
Sure.
First thing I noticed when I saw the grant application was that there was no deadline on it.
It was
So
as long as
ostensibly,
funding,
people could continue applying and applying and applying. My observation is perhaps you guys should adopt a deadline.
One of my difficulties was specifically with the language that you spoke to, Cody, and that was that it was if there's money remaining. And I guess my sense is that that means that the other money that is requested goes at the very end. And I guess I think we need to look at, this was one of the first grants that we got in. And I guess my sense is, I truly believe that there was an error that was occurred in December of 2021 that did not include the language of the approval of council for this nonprofit. Yes.
if I may, just to clarify, it was not an error. I mean, the presentation, we walked through each of the programs, the maximum grant award, the exact language that's in the resolution was one of the bullet points that we did review. That may have been a misinterpretation or misunderstanding, but it was what was presented was what was in the resolution. So that doesn't mean that they can't be modified if the council wish to modify the program.
Okay. Anyways, I was under the misperception, and I think there was other people that were under the misperception until recently that in fact that provision existed in there. And all I'm saying is that we should check it out and see whether or not that's the provision that people want.
Gina.
I would, first of all, you know what a fan I am of you and your programs and the Recovery Center. I would caution us, however, to be aware that while we love Daryl and we love what the Recovery Center does, there is,
to be fair to everybody,
a lot of need. Exactly. And we need to be fair to everyone. And so, you know, the advice over here I heard a minute ago about, you know, having to notify everybody and have them passively go back through their applications is a lot of extra work for nonprofits that are already strapped. So I think it would be my preference that we table, you know, like Marina said, table it. Let's look at our resolution and make sure that it fits what we want to do. And then look at all the nonprofits even Steven. And that may give us more time to see more need coming in so that we don't end up buying the first Daryl that comes through the room instead of supporting 15 Daryls.
So we do have a motion and a second before us here. So we need to take care of that issue first before we can hear any other motions.
And recap one more time for me. We're tabling, the motion on the table is to table.
The motion on the table is to table a consideration of the Recovery Center's request and to direct staff to prepare an amended resolution that would give the council the authority to grant an award in excess of $25,000 and bring that back to the council for consideration at the next meeting.
Thank you for the recap for tonight's episode.
So there's the recap.
Yeah,
I do have one more
Sure.
question on that. So if we've already approved Moscow Food Bank, yay,
Yay.
right? But now, do they get a chance to go back again and throw out another grant saying, wow, we think we could use another $75,000? Is that, I mean, and I'm not trying to be curmudgeon-y. I'm wondering, we've already approved one at what was stated from our resolution. So do they have an opportunity to come back and ask for more money?
My interpretation would be yes. If they said, oh, if we had known there was more money that would be available, they could amend and come back with a second request, and that'd be up for the council to consider.
Thank you.
There is not a limit of one application. I mean, the limit was the maximum award,
Right.
25,000 per organization. If that gets modified, then they could make another request to the council, I would presume.
Sure. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I just had one thing to share. When we began looking at this program, and I think it was last fall, we did pull a list of nonprofits that were eligible within Latah County. And I cross-checked that list with what we had today. And it looks to me like there may only be one or two more unless they've registered within the last 2 weeks and they're not on the list that would be eligible at this time. Doesn't mean that there's someone out there that may be a nonprofit that isn't within Latah County or the city of Moscow that does provide service within the city limits, which could be an option under this program.
Yeah.
But with those listed on the Secretary of State's website, I think we only have two more that would possibly come forth.
And so just a quick question for you. So that means, and math is not my favorite thing, but, and this is simple, we have 11 coming up and there would be 2 to 3 more that are potential nonprofits, not counting any small businesses. Is that right?
And one of them I wasn't sure was even still in operation.
Okay.
That was on the list.
And did you check out the small businesses that have that might be eligible also?
There's no way for me to do
Yeah,
that.
I didn't think so. I just
Yeah,
thought, I know you're sort of magic, so I thought you might
I
have
would
that.
say that we haven't gotten, I think we have only gotten one business application this last week. I'm aware of 2 or 3 more that are coming in, but other than that, I haven't heard more.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Gina and then Julia after that.
I would really like to see us push a little bit more media about for awareness specifically. I mean, I two more nonprofits. Let's hope they hear about it too. But small businesses, by and large, still don't know about this, and I really believe that we need to do a better job. And it means how many of us up here, 6, 7 of us up here, need to do a better job in general of getting this program publicized. So I would say tabling it and giving us some time to get some more media and some more awareness, and then everybody on an even slate is a very good thing.
Do you have something else, Julia?
Just a question for clarification. The total pot of ARPA money is how much?
750,000.
Okay.
Minus whatever we just
Minus
approved.
the $45,000 that we just
Plus
approved?
25.
Plus 25. So
Oh, plus
70.
25.
So that's 70. So,
Okay, let me just comment on just for a minute. And that is that I agree. I really hear the concept of a fairness. And so if the food bank wants to come back and notifying anyone who has applied makes sense to, in fact, give them notice of the change in that process. I also heard that the Recovery Center was saying the price of the house keeps going up all the time. And I think hit it hard, hit it fast, and let's get it back up in front of, my request is, if at all possible, we can get it in front of City Council again as soon as possible.
One more thing, then.
okay, one more thing.
Well, maybe. I mean, it might be more. But I mean, yes, that sounds great. And I am also a fan of the Recovery Center, and I'm thankful for the many times I've had the chance to work with you all and love the work you do. I don't think we're being equitable if we're looking at this as, let's get this done as fast as we can because the recovery center needs to get this house. I don't think that's the right lens to look at. I think if we're asking to table, which is fine, and if we're asking to take off limits and asking staff to rework this, I want them to do a really good job. And I don't think we say we push it because we need the recovery center's house, even though that might be true.
Right.
But I think we have to look at the whole, and the whole are all of them. And if that takes a little more than it does, and maybe prices would come down, that would be awesome. Right? I mean, I know, good laugh, I know, but still, I don't think we can make this decision based on what we hope for the recovery center. I think we have to make this decision and ask staff to do the best they can, especially opening it up, because I think there may be a whole thing from the food bank. I can almost see the wheels spinning right now that they might want to know more, but I'm sure there are other nonprofits that are like, wow, if we can do that, we absolutely will do more because we can do X, X, and X, and that might take more time than 2 weeks.
I hear you.
Okay.
I agree.
We still have a motion and a second out here. So relative to that motion, it's time to vote. So
Which again is to table and then direct staff. Got it. Okay.
Bill's
Period.
got another
Direct
one.
step, period.
Go.
And I guess, and just to clarify from staff's perspective, the modifications of the resolution will be simple. So that'll be very easy for us to bring back to the council. To inform the current applicants that we have received applications from, that the limit has potentially been expanded subject to the council's authorization. How long it may take them to modify their applications, I certainly can't speak to that. But we can certainly amend the resolution, and you can consider the recovery center's request at the next meeting. But what that means for other applicants who may increase their amount and what the future, I mean, currently we're sitting with the $200,000 request from the recovery center at $585,000 roughly in requested funding from all of the applicants at this point in time.
Does that
So yes.
Sorry, Bill.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thought you maybe finished with that. Does that include the 2 that have been denied?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So I guess I don't know how that shapes your consideration of
Well, I'm ready to
the
vote.
recovery center request when there's other nonprofits that may modify, there's increase. While we can turn the resolution around quickly for the council's passage, I don't know how quickly others may be modifying applications. So the timing still remains, the question still remains.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
So we're happy to prepare and we can have it available for you at the next meeting.
Okay. Julia,
Aye.
Gina,
Aye.
Haley,
Aye.
Ann,
Hi.
Maureen,
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Okay, going to go back to the chalkboard and do some work on the language and have it back next time around.
Mr. Mayor, is this the right, can I add a couple comments about why I abstained from the business portion?
Sure.
Just really briefly. So, since the program came to fruition before my time on council in December, and at that, I did not engage with that commentary before council as a citizen, as I should have. I mean, I have concerns about putting the city and the staff in a funky position when we're reviewing these business applications and putting our businesses in a funky position with like their financials hanging out. And I know I have unwavering faith and trust in Elisa and the team at the city. I had concerns about how the grant program was written, and I was concerned that a no vote would indicate that I don't support our local businesses, and that's not what I'm trying to convey. I just have concerns with the program as it was written. And as far as like the timeline and the ability for us to be helpful in administering it. And I also think we're not the only city with money pouring out of our ears with we just don't know. I mean, it's happening all over. And I do think that some of these nonprofit pieces, I am much more comfortable with the scope of the program and what it can offer in terms of immediate relief to our citizens without it being waiting for buying and renovating a house is a different thing than like trying to order park equipment that we're going to wait 3 years for because every other city is ordering park equipment. So I just wanted to offer context. I'm comfortable with the conversation with the nonprofit support. I have some concerns about the business portion. So, and I want to honor the intentions of council as council has set forth in December, and the most most helpful way for me to contribute to that was to abstain. So thank you.
Okay. Next up is item number 7, reaffirm fair housing resolution number 2021-06. Alyssa Anderson again.
Good evening. This is a rather simple agenda item. I just needed to explain the process of which we're going through this evening. The Idaho Department of Commerce requires that we update our fair housing resolution and also have the proclamation which you read to us earlier this evening. Normally over the past years when we've had an active Idaho Department of Commerce grant, we have had changes to our fair housing resolution, and so we did come forth with a new resolution. Over the past few years, the city has been very aggressive in rewriting the resolution, and it still stands with no changes as recommended by the city attorney this year. However, I do need to bring forth to you for the public also to know that we have this resolution, we support it as a city and as a council, and one of the next requirements for me would be, if you reaffirm this resolution tonight, would be to advertise it also for further public outreach. And that would then meet our requirements through the block grant that we have for the 2 parks grants and for the existing application that we're waiting for affirmation for the fire engine.
Sweet. Your Honor, I move we reaffirm, that's a tough word.
It is.
Reaffirm the Fair Housing Resolution number 2021-06.
Second.
Second by Sandra. Any discussion? Okay. Sandra.
Aye.
Julia.
Aye.
Ann.
Aye.
Gina.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
And Maureen.
Aye.
Okay. That is approved. Easy peasy.
Thanks, Elisa.
Thanks, Elisa.
And item number 8 is to set the fiscal year 2023 budget hearing date. Bill Belknap.
Thank you, Your Honor. By Idaho code, we have to notify Latah County of the date of our public hearing for the city's annual budget, no later than 30th of each year. So staff is requesting council to officially set the date of our FY 2023 budget to be August 1st of this year.
I move we set August 1st, 2022 as the public hearing date for the City of Moscow FY 23 budget.
Second.
Oh,
Give it to
we'll
Haley.
give it
want
to
it.
Haley
I want it.
on that one.
Good Lord.
Okay. Gina.
Aye.
Maureen.
Aye.
Sandra.
Aye.
Julia.
Aye.
Haley.
Aye.
And okay.
Thank you.
Everybody write that down on your calendars and
Save the
outline
date,
it in red.
And I'm a little disappointed you didn't say with only if we have air conditioning that
Only
day.
if we have, I'd like to amend.
Okay, that's the end of the regular agenda. Time for reports. Start with Sandra.
Yep, I had historic preservation on the 31st, and we met in the Haddock Building, which that might not be exciting to everyone else here, but that was really exciting for all of us.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful, and it was nice, and it was really great when there was a question, and Mike Ray went, "Oh, I don't know. Let me go up to my office and look." And he could just zip up and get something and come right back down. So it was awesome. So thanks for the Haddock Building. They're still looking at what to do about making University of Idaho Historic District, getting ready for the Orchid Awards. And so I would encourage everyone, including our fun audience members, that if you see some really cool things going on around town building wise, whether it's a house or a building or some great things happening, take some pictures, send it in. It may or may not qualify for an Orchid Award, but the Historic Preservation would love to take a look at it and help in that recommendation. So it's a pretty big event they have going on, and they'll be taking nominations through, I think, the end of June.
Thank you. Maureen.
I attended the Latah County Housing Affordability Roundtable, which Gina and others put on. I thought it was very good. It was a little condensed, a lot of information very quickly.
Yeah.
And talked about things I had not really thought about in terms of how they deal with those issues in terms of disability and such. And there were a whole array of different presenters, each one talking specifically about a topic like permanent housing, subsidized housing, and Disability Action Center talked about theirs. So I thought it was really very helpful. and the Plus Habitat for Humanity spoke, as well as the Land Trust. And that's the ones I attended.
Gina,
I was more the sprinkles on the cupcake of that housing roundtable than anything else. I did assist with the Moscow Affordable Housing Trust, who actually arranged all of the speakers. I think he said something like that at the beginning of the event, no less.
Gina was still around and did a lot of running around.
But what was really interesting in that situation was I'm always so super proud of us because we have these things in place and we have a affordable housing commission and a fair and affordable housing commission anyway. And so it was nice to be able to say to the small communities like Deary and Beauville and Troy and Potlatch, if you don't have that, I know who does. And it was kind of a cool moment to be able to say, we've plowed that path first or before you and we can help. That is a cool thing. And that warms the cockles of my heart there. So, but anyway, there's a lot of work coming from that. As a result, I get to write some comprehensive plans with a couple outlying communities, or at least get them connected with somebody who can. I have the best day on my whole week tomorrow because I get to be part of the tree commission. And that's all I got for you.
Haley.
Yeah, it was a quiet couple of weeks. I actually don't think I had any committee meetings. I've got a farmers market commission meeting tomorrow. I did want to note we did have a really good workshop as council for strategic planning, and I have a parking lot of ideas to start shaping that discussion for strategic planning, and I'm very excited about the suggested changes to make sure that it gives newbies a chance to get up to speed before we're setting strategic goals and that they're seeing relevant. So that's what I got, and commission stuff is picking up tomorrow. And yeah, mark your calendars because the first farmers market will be on May 7th. It's the first Saturday in May. So yes, May 7th coming up. And that's what I got.
Are we still having the winter market this Saturday?
Is it this one?
In 1912?
Is it this month? I was thinking, I thought she was done in March. I should ask Jenny.
The last
I think the last one was in March. I'll fact.
Was it March? Okay. There's some event at
I do
1912
love
on Saturday.
winter market.
I just thought it was yours.
Oh, well, we'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, you're good.
Man,
All my meetings were canceled.
dang.
It was the last one.
Julia.
Well, everybody has stolen most of my thunder. Went to Latah County Affordable Housing Roundtable, which was very interesting and informative, and I have like 5 pages of notes. Strategic planning workshop. I'm making noises. And also had Sustainable Environment Commission on the 22nd. We listened to a presentation about solid waste management, which does not sound that exciting, but it was really, really interesting. We also talked about the Earth Day Awards, nominations, and made some recommendations for those.
Okay. For my part, went off and was at the ribbon cutting for the seed potato germplasm building over on the university. I believe you were there too.
All for you.
And that's very entertaining. And what a great facility it is. As a scientist who works in germplasm wheat instead of potatoes, it was really intriguing and interesting to see what they've got going on there. Really a well-done facility that'll enhance Idaho agriculture considerably. And also went off to the powwow at the ICCU arena this last Saturday. Very noisy, very colorful, and things move at their own synergistic speed at events like that. It was also very entertaining. And also for council people, Wednesday, 7 a.m., the Wallace for the city, county, school district, and university meeting. First time in person in about 2 years. So here's your chance to show up and actually be face to face with the rest of the people in town.
I'm just excited to see how Bob's has evolved from not being Bob's anymore. I loved Bob's.
You never know.
$7 you can just have breakfast with him.
Yep. What you got, Bill? Anything from staff?
That's the only thing I had was the Wednesday morning meeting.
No, I
at
stole it.
The eatery at Vandal Village at the Wallace
Eatery,
Complex.
yes.
So,
Mhm.
yes.
Sounds like a trough is involved. Okay, with that, do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Yes.
And seconds,
Third.
and
Amen.
all in favor?
Aye, aye.
Okay, we're done. Thank you, everybody, especially for staying.
Where is that?
It's Wallace.